Are we really separate from God? Or is God within us? Are we God? These are all questions I know I ask myself on a daily basis, and I'm sure they're questions that crop up for you very often. I want to take the time out today just to explore this topic a little bit deeper, and with any intentions of shifting beliefs or if you're religious. This is just simply a topic for exploration and something that I've been working on in my spiritual development. You know, I love to talk about these sort of things because it may be something you may be going through, and we can help each other dig into the answers and integrate them more deeply. But for me, this has been something that has been coming up, like I said, recently, and I feel like it's been a new awakening. And by the way, the awakening process is never ending, right? You will have multiple, if not many, many, many awakening points throughout your whole spiritual journey. But for me, lately, I feel like this perception of who or what God is in relation to us, in relation to the rest of the universe within and on the exterior has really been coming up. And I thought we could take a little bit of time to dig into some thought-provoking questions. And what I want to ask you is, do you see God outside of you? I'm going to talk about some angles of religion, not because, again, I'm here to give like a thesis statement about pros and cons of it or anything like that. It's really just to kind of draw inspiration, because I do love how the Bible and those teachings are thousands and thousands of years old. There's a lot of potency to it. For one time I was doing this intuitive workshop, and someone had put a Bible in a disclosed box, and we were supposed to guess what was inside it. Of course, at the time, I didn't know it was the Bible, but I could just sense something that was like bright and light and illuminated and brought a lot of inspiration, hope, and empowerment to people. And when I found out it was the Bible, I was like, wow. So to me, that is, in essence, my relationship with that body of work. I just want to put that as a side note so you understand my perspective. But really, I'm just coming in neutrally and want to explore and poke and prod at different questions, at different ideas. So the word God, also for context, when I'm saying that, it can be any type of higher power that you believe in. I'm only using the more westernized version of that word that I even like to say Mother, Father, God, personally, because I was brought up as a Lutheran in the good old Midwest and confirmed in the whole works and everything. But to me, with that context, the word God in that setting had more of a masculine, like this man up in the sky. And so for me, I've had to balance out that perception so that every time I heard the word God, I didn't just think of this masculine energy. I've been really working on reprogramming myself to see the balance, the mother, the feminine, and the masculine, the Father God. So for the purpose of this exploration, we're just gonna use God to cover all the bases. But I wanna ask you, do you see God inside of you, outside of you, or is it like a hybrid of both? Another question, when you hear the word God, what do you think of? What does that symbolize to you? Like the immediate thing when you hear the word God. What is it? I invite you to write it down as we kind of dive in a little bit deeper. Follow-up question to that, what do you visualize when you hear the word God? I think that one's always a fun one, because one time when I lived in Nashville, we used to have these bonfires occasionally, and I always loved to do fireside soul chats, as I like to call it, and would go around and ask everyone, okay guys, what do you think of and what do you visualize when you hear the word God? And believe it or not, something that kept repeating over and over as like a universal archetype was envisioning this big ball of light, or this big enigmatic source of pure light. And I think that's so interesting, because in so many other contexts, physically and non-physically, consciousness is associated with light. And so anyway, that's just something interesting to think about. But if even from that context, I guess we can grab hold of that. If it is light, if it is consciousness, we know that we are light beings. Like, this is not just some esoteric belief. It's not some esoteric inspirational or aspirational type of thing. It is actually measured scientifically. There's so much data that backs that up. And if you are interested, I'd be happy to send those links to you. But we know that we are light beings. So if we're light, then we must be consciousness too. We know we have consciousness. So all those check out. this could just be my own personal programming because, like I said, I grew up in a religious setting with perspectives that God was more or less externally. That's just the overall sense. It wasn't point blank taught, but no one sat down and said, Teresa, God is outside of you. But it seemed like that was kind of the overall theme, undertones of what was being presented and what religious practices looked like back then. So I really got used to this idea that it's outside of me. I have to pray to God. Like I have to externally ask for mercy that maybe, just maybe I may be worthy enough to receive the thing that I'm asking for. And oh, what a blessing and a gift God has given me when I get the thing. But recently I've been sort of re-examining all that. I mean, not just recently, this has been ongoing, but even more recently, I've been integrating a new perspective. What if we are God? Not just an aspect of God, not like there's this big ball of light and then out of that came, what is it, like millions of souls or billions, whatever it is. And then souls can become humans. Not necessarily from that perspective, but even further, like, I know this is still something that's kind of new to me, so it still gives me the EBGBs a little bit. I'm still working it out, but sometimes when I ask myself, what if I am 100% God? Not just like 50%, and then the other 50% is human, but what if I am 100% God? Because I am light, I am consciousness. There are many different ways you can kind of break that down, and I will probably expand on this in a couple other videos, just because it is such a big topic, and I've come up with some practices that have kind of helped me integrate this perspective a little bit more. But if it's coming up for me, then my God, I have to imagine it's coming up for other people. I'm very much attached to or tuned into the universal consciousness, just like you are. So in hopes that this may relate to you, I'm going to do a few more videos that can kind of help us explore this topic. But going back to what if it is I am 100% God, I can come up with a number of reasons why I am like God. And not God as in ego, not as in I am a ruler type of God, but rather the creator, like Mother, Father, God, source, creator. I am a creator. I think it's easier for me to adapt that into my identity because I've been a brand designer for 25 years of my life. So I am creative, and I love bringing things that I can visualize in my mind's eye into physical fruition through pixels and through material, paper. Just being able to see it in final physical reality is such an amazing passion. But that's the type of creator of God I'm envisioning. Not necessarily God the ruler. That's not what this word association is all about. So going back to that question, what if I am 100% God? What does that leave me? Like, I don't know, I just kind of toyed around with this a little bit more. And then I remembered this passage from the Bible. It's from the book of Luke, chapter 17, verse 21. The kingdom of God is within you. So we know that even back then, thousands and thousands of years ago, the amazing ascended masters and teachers were trying to instill this wisdom upon the consciousness of man, of humanity at that time, the best that they could. I mean, there was a different level of consciousness back then than it is now. Some say it was a lower level of consciousness, but either way, they tried to instill this idea, or what if? No, don't let me tell you that. What if they were instilling that idea back then, that the kingdom of God is within you? Let's just break this down for a hot second. The kingdom. Back then, and you got to remember, this is thousands and thousands of years old. The context is way different. The consciousness and the language, and I mean, this has been transcribed and then translated different languages. Sometimes translation can get lost as to the meaning back then versus now. But let's just go with some intuitive hits here. The kingdom. Back then, the kingdom would have really represented someone who has access to all levels of abundance and has really no restriction or limitation, who has resources at their fingertips. You snap and you have whatever you want right in front of you. You tell so-and-so to jump and they say how high. Just the essence of the word kingdom, if I'm just putting my mind back then into that time and place back then, it probably would have hit people in that sort of way, where it was like, you have everything. You're not poor living on the streets. They didn't have unemployment back then. They didn't have disability insurance. It was hard knocks. It definitely was tough, and a lot of people were still in survival mode. So the idea that a kingdom is something that you have unlimited abundance and access to, that's my interpretation. And then of God is within you. I think that kind of stands for itself. So everything that you could ever want, the abundance of a kingdom, where as a positioned at the top of your kingdom, again, I don't want to confuse, I'm not trying to say that God is like in the context of a ruler, but your kingdom being something that you have access to, all resources, abundance, and joy and happiness and pleasure-filled life, all of that is available for you and within you. That's kind of how I reinterpret that phrase. But that aside, it really I only mention it because it sort of inspired me to think and re-examine my relationship with this idea of who or what God is, and to give myself permission to even just explore that I am God as well. Like not just 20%, 50%, 80%, but 100% God. And that this kingdom, according to the book of Luke, is within me. So I started to just explore and have some fun and play around with that. And at the same time, a book was coming into my life. This was like the summer of last year. The book is The Path to Wealth by Mae McCarthy. I highly recommend it because in the book, you are, it's like the 7 spiritual steps to abundance. You are invited to deepen your relationship with God and to partner with God every single day to receive the abundance or the good that you're calling in. So I was already kind of prompted to integrate or to deepen my relationship with God in a more conscious way rather than kind of on autopilot before. And I thought that was really amazing. I started to develop what I call this anchor. So it was like a visual system of how I would see God as the ring. It's a dual ring system. One ring is God and then the other ring is me. And throughout the day, I would check in and be like, how much am I overlapping my circle with God? How much are we locked in? How much am I allowing God into my life versus relying only on my personal power, which is not a lot. I would rather leverage God, universal intelligence, access to infinite abundance, the universe. I would rather leverage that than just my own personal power. So I started to try to at least get to right here where there's at least like a 50-50, where I'm at least leaving room for God to enter in, for miracles to happen, for intuitive guidance, for being divinely led, those kind of things, instead of gripping onto situations, attachments, outcomes, etc. So that's where this started to develop. And then, like I said, just recently, I've been going even deeper than that and started to ask myself, like, what happens when we do perceive God outside of us? Like, this is all great and everything, but honestly, spontaneously, what happened is, I think it was a spontaneous awakening. I was just sitting there in a meditative state, and I was sort of asked to make a list of all of the ways that I am God. I was like, what? What? That's weird. What? But I think I was prompted by Spirit to do this exercise, and I'll do a separate video for that, kind of walk you through exactly what that exercise is. I think I was prompted to do that because maybe on a bigger scale, on the macro scale, we are starting to expand our consciousness and integrate God even more into our being. Not just like the relationship of God, but the idea that we are 100% God. So if that is the case, just saying, what if that is the case, what happens when we start to perceive God outside of us? Well, I can tell you, just by exploring the before and after there, again, the question being, what if God is 100% within us? What does that feeling feel like? And then to ask myself, or even you can do this with me right now, ask yourself, what is God outside of you? And think about that, feel into that. What's the distinction there? For me, when I position it as I'm 100% God, it's like, whoa, it's big, expansive. It feels good. In short, it feels empowering. There's a level of love and truth to it. I'm still, trust me, I'm not like 100% on this just yet. It's a process of integrating. I'm just playing around with it, like I said. And then if I ask, what if God is outside of me? That feels scary. I feel fearsome. It's the opposite. It feels contracting energy. I feel scared. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. It feels disempowering. I don't like it. I don't like the feeling that like there's something outside of me that is like judging me or thinking that I may be worthy or not worthy of certain things I ask for. In short, it starts to make me fall into those lower vibrations of fear and victimization. I don't know if that's a word, but I know that when I say and play around with the idea that God is within me 100%, I shoot way up to the higher vibrations of enlightenment and joy and love and gratitude, because it's like it's been here all along, waiting for me to discover it, kind of like that, like a gift someone gave you. That's like, you're going to open this, but don't open this until the day of your birthday on this specific year. I feel like that's what it feels like I'm opening up a present that's been given to me, but I, for some reason, for reasons unknown, but I trust in the process that this gift is being opened and revealed to me at this time for a specific reason. So that's what it feels like. In short, it feels good. And I just wanted to put this out there and hear what your relationship is with God and what your relationship is with a higher power. If you're open to exploring this concept, I'll leave you with the anchor. The anchor is, like I said, it's a practice that allows you to check in to be like, where am I in relationship to God? You are one ring, God is the other ring. Are you at least leaving 50-50, so some overlap for God to enter in? Sometimes, if I'm having a really good day, I feel like the rings are getting much, much closer, much, much, much closer. And I would say that my ultimate goal is, this is for me personally, to have there be like barely any distinction that there is two rings. Like they're so close, maybe just a micro inch or micro centimeter away from each other. That would be my ultimate goal. I'll let you know if and when I hit it. But here's a visual anchor that you can use, a tool, every single day, any multiple times throughout the day that you may want to check in and just be like, where am I at? Where are the rings at? Are the rings here? Are they further apart? Do you want to bring them in closer to allow grace to enter in, to allow more light? Yeah. Well, I hope that this tool serves you well. Please let me know in the comments what you think about some of these questions, what your answers are. And remember, I'm not here to create any new beliefs or to hinder you from your current perspectives. I am just simply trying to open up an idea for exploration. I'd love to know what you think about the anchor, about the rings tool. And of course, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more videos. I thank you and appreciate you so much for your support. Much love.